Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about how I onboard clients to my automation agency. Here we go. So when I first started my AI automation agency, I had never professionally onboarded a client before. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how to do it. I was in over my skis, just winging it in front of the client almost every meeting. And that was really stressful for me. So I really wanted to just make my process more efficient and standardize that process to make it more professional for my client so that I could remove a lot of the anxiety I was feeling every time I was trying to onboard my client to my agency. So I hit a lot of sticky points, a lot of roadblocks, but I think I've arrived at a pretty decent onboarding process that I want to share with you guys today. I'm going to show you my client onboarding access guide. I'm going to show you emails that I send to my clients so that you can copy them and use them in your onboarding process, and just talk to you about some of the little secrets that I've learned along the way. All right, so context here today is you've just signed a new client, and now we need to get access to all their apps and tools that we'll need in order to build their system for them, okay? Now, if you've ever done any automation work for clients, you understand that getting access to these tools and getting all these software systems set up for your client and getting them on the right plans and all their login credentials and all that good stuff, this is probably the worst part of the process, okay? I used to just hate this because I would get so stressed trying to get my client onboarded and logged in and set up in a professional way. I didn't really know what to do. I'd never done it before. And there's a couple things that always happen that I never knew about going into it, but that I'm going to call out to you today. Stuff like two-factor authentication, Google sign-on, things like this that are automation engineers' biggest nightmares. Okay, we're going to talk about all this in just a second. Now, the worst thing we can do for our client, the most unprofessional thing we can do, is a few days into the project, we need to ask them for a two-factor authentication code, or we need them to sign up for a different plan than originally intended. All these kind of things add up in the client's head to make you not as professional as you really are. All right, so if we can standardize this process, this onboarding process, we can really knock this out of the park for our clients, okay? So today I'm going to walk you through my exact process, all the roadblocks that I've kind of navigated so that you don't have to hit these roadblocks yourself and you can kind of get a head start. All right, so there's really two approaches to client onboarding that I've seen. The first is the client-led setup, okay? So this means that essentially the client signs up for all the different apps and tools that they'll need for you to build their system for them, and then send you their login credentials themselves, okay? Pros here is you don't actually have to get involved in setting up all these accounts for your client, okay? You assume that they have some level of expertise, some technical know-how, so that they can, disable two-factor authentication, unlink from any Google sign-ons, sign up for the correct plan, give you the correct username and password, stuff like that. The cons here is that it's kind of not professional to make your client do all this themselves, especially when a lot of this, they don't really know what they're doing and it can get tricky. Like there are some sticky points that, can kind of drive them nuts and they could get upset if nobody's there walking them through this process. So my first client I ever had, I kind of did this process where I kind of let him kind of do his thing. Hey, go sign up for a Make.com account for me. Hey, go sign up for a Webflow account for me. Disconnect from Google sign-on and then send me all your login credentials for all of your different tools. And he was not able to do that on his own. Now, this is going to vary client to client. Some clients will want to do all this on their own, and they can, and they're able to, and it's no big deal. Other clients, they've never done stuff like this before, and you're really going to have to help them and hold their hand through the whole thing, which is fine. But it will vary client to client. Now, the second approach to client onboarding is to do an actual live onboarding call with the client where you share your screen via, Zoom or Skype or whatever you're using, and you actually walk through how to set up all these tools and transfer login credentials live on the call with them, okay? Now, pros of this, or it's very, very professional. It's very client-focused and client-friendly. Clients love this because it feels like they don't have to figure anything out. You're going to watch them do it all and make sure it all works live with them. Now, these calls normally take 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how complex the systems are going to be. And that's a good thing, because the client likes to be with you and see what they're paying all this money for. Okay, they want your expertise. They want to see it on display. Now the cons here, especially for me personally, is this used to give me a bunch of anxiety. I would get so nervous for all these onboarding calls because this was a moment where I would be sharing my screen live with the client. And if anything went wrong, I would have to be quick on my feet and deflect and, play a smooth game here to make it seem like I knew what I was doing, So it was kind of risky, and that kind of made me nervous every time. And so, I was always worried like, hey, like if I'm trying to, get access to my client's Webflow account, but, they have a Google sign-on enabled and I can't access their system, and I've never really disabled Google sign-on for Webflow before, how am I going to do it? Will I be able to figure out live on a call? That kind of stuff made me nervous. And so I kind of wanted to, after doing a few of these client-led setups and then a few of these live onboarding calls, I kind of wanted to blend both of them together. Each has pros, each has cons. Can we make some sort of, middle ground system where we do a mix of a client-led setup and then a live onboarding call, and then we get the best of both worlds, but we also mitigate the cons away of both approaches. All right, and so that led me to my new balanced approach, which is what I use now. Okay, and so what I do is my step one is I have a customized client access guide that I've created in Notion, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. And essentially what it is, it's a personalized document for each client with step-by-step instructions for signing up for each required app, tool, software, etc., including details on all the plans they need to sign up for and other, necessary things they need to do, essentially disabling two-factor authentication, unlinking from Google sign-on, stuff like that. And so the benefit of this is it allows the client to take initiative. And for all those kind of go-getter clients with the technical know-how and the ability to kind of do a lot of this on their own, they can do it all themselves before our live onboarding call, and it will save me a lot of time. But it also gives them kind of a hand in their own project, and they can kind of get going earlier than waiting for my schedule to clear up for a live onboarding call. All right. But paired with this customized client access guide, I also do a live project kickoff call. Okay. And what we do is on this live call, it'll be a Zoom call. We'll have our video on, and we'll be sharing screen. I will walk through our client access guide with the client, and I'll ensure that I have all the login credentials I need from the client live on the call. And I'll actually log in to each of their apps right in front of them on this call so that we know, in this 30-minute onboarding call, we have access to all the tools we need and we don't have to do any back and forth after the call. Hey, actually, I forgot about Slack. What's your Slack login? Blah, blah, blah. We get into and signed in and set up to all of the different apps we need on one 30-minute to 45-minute call, basically. Okay. The benefit of this is all the clients who need more assistance, who aren't as tech savvy as other clients, we set this up for them live on the call. And again, this just makes them feel comfortable, and it makes us and our agency seem very professional. We're taking the time to actually walk through our client and get all this set up for them live in front of them. Okay. So let me show you now what my client access guide looks like. And then I'll show you an actual email that I use to send this client access guide to my clients before the project onboarding call, before the kickoff call. All right, so I'm in Notion here, and you can see I've got just a template here for my access guide that I send every client before our kickoff call. And I think I can link this down in the description below, so I'll have this link down below so you can just copy this and use this as you need. But you can see it's pretty basic. Basically, the goal of this document is to provide instructions on how to grant our team access to the tools and apps we'll need to build your system. And again, if we can get access to all these apps at the beginning of the project, this will just make things so much smoother than having to ask for additional login credentials or two-factor authentication codes. midway through the project. That is the most annoying thing in running an automation agency, in my opinion. I hate that. So let's get this all set up in 30 minutes at the beginning of the project, and then everything else will be smooth sailing. All right, I've got some notes here. We'll walk through this on our project kickoff call. We'll be logging into your apps right behind you, live on the call. And we are committed to the security and confidentiality of user data. I store all my usernames and passwords of my clients in a password manager. Okay, I use Bitwarden, and I just store all the passwords in there. So that gives the client a little bit of comfort that we're responsible. We're not going to just be throwing their password and username around. All right. As we scroll down, we've got some kind of copy here. Welcome to our agency. Here's our goal. If you need any help, here's my email, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then scrolling down to the access guide, this is the meat and potatoes of this video. You can see here that for all the most popular apps that I use to build systems for people, Make.com, Webflow, MemberStack, Airtable, Stripe, ClickUp, OpenAI, all the big boys, I have unique instructions for how to get set up for each of these tools. And again, the benefit of this is if you send this client access guide to your client before the live onboarding call, a lot of the clients, I would say 75 to 80% of the clients, are going to go through all of these instructions on their own, okay? Because this is a custom-made document for each client, and they're going to have all their systems set up for you by the time you get on that live onboarding call. And so really, you don't have to do anything. You kind of put the ball in their court. They can set it up on their end. And then if they have any questions or they run into any issues on the live onboarding call a couple days later, you can kind of smooth out anything that's kind of outstanding. But I'm telling you guys, 75 to 80% of your clients will have all of their systems set up for you by the time you even schedule your live onboarding call, because, you send this nice document to them and they're able to walk through these easy instructions. And so you can see now that kind of for each of these tools, we have, specific instructions on how to set that app up. So for example, Make.com. First instruction is I need you to sign up for a plan. And I need you to sign up for the core plan. It's $11 a month. This is the plan we recommend. I have a little note down here that, there is also a pro plan, but we'll let you know if you need to sign up for this. In the meantime, just go sign up for the core plan. And so then the client can go to Make.com and do this. All right. And then I give them a little spot where they can actually type in their login credentials once they're signed up. So for example, they can just come in here. It's a live file, and they can type in right here for me their email and password. And so now I can go to Make.com and make sure that I can sign in with their login credentials. So this is all great to do before the call, I think, because you don't have to do this live on the call and waste a lot of time. Okay. I also have instructions on how to disable two-factor authentication and disable error notifications in Make.com. Okay. And you can see for basically all these tools, it's the same thing. I need you to go sign up for a plan. Here's a picture of the plans. 99% of the time, we can just use a free starter workspace plan for Webflow. And then site plans, I'm going to probably need you to be on the CMS plan, which is going to be $29 a month. Then again, I give them a spot to just, hey, what's your Webflow login? Right there. And then I also show them how to disable 2FA. All right, so this is kind of the bread and butter here and how I kind of format all of these kind of instructions here for all these apps. And so what I do is I'll show you an email now of what I actually send to the client. All right, and so the email I send is something like this. Now, you don't have to use this, but this works for me. Hi, client. Thank you for signing the proposal document. I'm excited to kick off this project and begin working with you. Below, you will find next steps to take as we launch our project together. And then there's 3 next steps. So 1, schedule kickoff call. We'll be having a kickoff call early this week where we will make sure that our team has the appropriate login credentials that we'll need in order to access your tools. You can schedule your kickoff call here at a time that works best for you. And then I link my Calendly meeting link, and then they can pull up my calendar and just book a 30-minute meeting with me whenever it's free. Okay, so I put the ball in their court to book their kickoff call. 2, join our Slack. So I'll send them a link to our Slack workspace right here. I'll just kind of paste it in, and then they can just click it right here in this email and log in, sign up, and then they're in our Slack. So I use Slack to communicate mainly with the client once the project is ongoing. And then 3, I would like you to read our onboarding guide. Okay, and so below you will find our onboarding guide, which will give you step-by-step instructions for setting up and transferring login credentials for your apps. We'll be walking through this onboarding guide live on your call, but if you'd like to get a head start and start purchasing the required plans and providing login credentials, that'd be great. That sentence right there, I found is my secret. That's my secret sauce, folks. That right there puts the agency on the client. It gives them a little bit of responsibility and lets them know that, hey, if you want to get this project started right now, you can. Head into this access guide and start signing up for things, okay? But again, I think it's a good balance of, hey, you can go do this yourself, but also we're going to be walking through this together live on our onboarding call. So if there's any issues, don't worry about it. Okay. So they still feel comforted. It still feels professional, but they can knock out a lot of this before this call even happens, which is going to save us a lot of time and headache. All right. If you have any trouble, don't worry about it. We will get it all ironed out on the kickoff call. And then I add a little note at the bottom. Where possible, do not use Google Sign-In to create your accounts, as this will make it difficult to grant me sign-in access. Use a standard username and password. And then finally, we will be disabling 2FA on your apps during this project so that I don't have to bug you continually for sign-in codes. We can reestablish these after the project. Thank you, Alex. All right, and so that is kind of what I do once I sign a client. Okay, so I send them that guide. They kind of get going, and then we kind of do a live onboarding call to walk through anything outstanding. All right, now a couple last things I want to call out here are two-factor authentication and Google sign-in, okay? If you've ever done automation work and if you've ever tried to log into your client's systems, you know that two-factor authentication is the bane of our existence. It's awful, okay? And again, the reason for that is 3 days from now when I'm halfway through your project, I don't want to bug you for a make.com 2FA code. Especially, a lot of the clients are going to be international. They might be asleep for the next 8 hours and you won't hear from them for a while. So it's horrible. It's unprofessional. It's not great. It's very inefficient. So when you are onboarding a client, make sure that for each app, you disable two-factor authentication during that live onboarding call, okay? This is just going to save you so much headache that it's unbelievable. I mean, every once in a while, I'll have a client that I need access to like their Google account, and you can't really disable 2FA a lot of the times with Google. And that is the thing that drives the clients the most crazy. And it drives me even more crazy is me having to say, hey, I have an authentication code coming your way here in about 30 seconds. Are you by your phone? It's awful. It's not good. So make sure you disable those during onboarding. And the last thing I'll say is you want to disconnect from Google sign-in on these apps where you can. I always try with my clients to not get access to their Google account if it's possible. Getting their Google login credentials, a lot of clients will be a little hesitant about it because it's their Google account, and Google has a lot of email and private information and stuff like that a lot of clients probably won't trust you with. And so where possible, get the client to disable Webflow, Make.com, ClickUp, Airtable, whatever app from Google Sign-On, because if they don't, every time you try to log in, you're going to have to sign into their Google account, and you're going to need a 2FA code in order to do so. So disable Google Sign-On where you can. Now, if you're building a system that has, Gmail linked, you're sending automated emails on Gmail, or, you're creating folders in Google Drive, or you're creating Google Word docs, stuff like that, or not Word docs, Google Docs, then there's no real way around getting their Google login credentials. Sometimes you have to, but if you're not using actual Google apps like Docs and Drive and all that good stuff, disconnect from Google Sign-On. It'll save you a ton of headache. So that is how I onboard my clients for my automation agency. Again, it's a perfect blend of letting the client take a little bit of agency themselves, a little bit of responsibility, and letting them get a head start in unlocking a lot of these tools and apps for you before your onboarding call, mixed with still showing them that client-first, client-centric focused perspective where we walk them hand in hand through all this access stuff live on an onboarding call. I think it's the best of both worlds. Maybe you disagree, maybe you don't, but this I found works for me. And I'll tell you this, a lot of the clients I ask for feedback on this onboarding process, all of them, I haven't had one that did not like this blended technique. So they like it. I like it because, again, it saves me a lot of hassle, a lot of headache, and I don't get nervous on those live calls anymore because most of the time it's all done for me. And so, yeah, I think this is the perfect way to do it, the best of both worlds. But let me know down in the comments below if you disagree or if you have another way you do it that might actually help me out. That'd be great. So thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing. If you like this video, go down and smash that like button for me. If you have any questions for me or comments or theories or whatever, get down there and let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all your support over the last few months. And I'll see you guys in the next video. All right. Peace.